We stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Before we get started, I just want to ask the council if they would please follow Robert's Rules of Order. And what I mean by that is the whole method by which we speak. You have to be acknowledged by the president before you begin speaking. It's not just like, Mr. President, blah, 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 blah. It's so that we don't have people interrupting, pontificating, and it just makes for a much more organized meeting and a lot less stress. So I'm just asking that as a favor.
Mr. President,
Yes.
move to open public hearing, section 4246(6), in regards to the outdoor entertainment license application, Richmond Smokehouse LLC, DBA Richmond Smoke Entertainment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is a representative of Richmond Smoke here?
President,
Yeah.
move to close public hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. President, move to approve the entertainment license for Richmond Smoke LLC.
Second.
All those in favor? No discussion? Right. Aye.
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 Okay. So, number 2.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
This is the continued public hearing for last time. Do I have to make a motion to reopen it?
Yes.
Okay, motion to open public hearing for the municipal budget.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Laura.
Would you like me to go through what I did in the previous public hearing or?
Just anything additional.
So additionally, since we talked about the budget, we've done some research in along the lines of you putting aside funds for wage studies. We did some research and we have had the municipal employees ask for increased dental over a number of years. And we finally did the research. I finally did the research. And we would like to reallocate some of the funding out of that wage contingency in the amount of $4,900 back into the dental lines for each departments, which would allow us the ability to offer the municipal employees the same level of dental that the police have had for a number of years. In looking at the funds, thought it was funds well spent to get their plan up to a better level.
And that's short money for nice increase.
A nice benefit change. So all I'm asking, I guess, in the budget part of this is that you allow us to reallocate the funds under the line item. I guess it would be under Karen's new business or her report. We'll be asking you to consider the benefit change. But the only thing I'm requesting at this time is just to move the money. It doesn't change anything. The budget doesn't change. The tax rate is still looking to go to 1466 from 1476. So nothing else has changed.
Okay. Do you need a motion for that?
So we
Close.
close public hearing, I guess, first.
Open close public hearing.
Anybody else has anything else to talk about? Is there any other budget issues to talk about? That one. Nobody online here.
Move to close public hearing, Mr. President.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. President, I think it would probably be appropriate to just do it under your request at that time.
Technically, the
$4,900.
council does have to authorize the increase in the percentage of the co-share, which is why it kind of got jumped up to the top.
Okay, Mr. President, I make a motion to allocate the extra $4,900 to the dental plan for the town hall employees.
Any further discussion? That being avoided, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 And then we will need a vote to send it to referendum, correct?
Yes.
President.
Yes.
Motion to move the municipal budget to referendum for the town clerk to advertise.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And then there's a part B, if you want to do it, approval of the ballot question for the financial referendum.
President, move to approve the ballot question for the financial referendum.
What is the ballot question?
So we do need language.
Very simple and easy.
Laura, do you have? No, you don't have it real.
Deny the budget, right?
In a dollar amount.
Yeah, so it's to approve the municipal budget for fiscal year 24-25 in the amount of the bottom line, which was 2,9 something.
I still have it here. Let's see if we agree. Two, 2,958,3,772.
9583772.
Yes.
One more time, please.
29583
Motion, Mr. President, for a second, I don't believe so.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we know, just for clarity, I don't,
Motion to open public hearing. For the municipal court ordinance. Right, agreement.
That's what I heard.
I was just clarifying who was that second.
Me.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
One more time.
All right, thank you. Motion to open the public hearing for the ordinances that establish municipal court in Richmond.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. What do I know there were some details. This,
Which specific details? Oh,
I was hoping.
I was hoping you started this first line.
I can share it right here. The most recent version is in your council packet.
I left my.
It is in what?
Is in your council packet. Fine.
the comments that were made at the last meeting were incorporated into that last version that I sent to the clerk in Word. I think it was, going back last month, but I did it a few days later. Authorized to add access charges for credit cards, debit cards. That was one of the additions. I kept open on page 4, compensation, that council, obviously, that's gonna depend on how many times a month the court is in session, how much time it's gonna take the judge to process the cases. So I left that as open, and plus you may want to look into what Hopkinton is paying their judge.
Yeah.
Probably something that's gonna have roughly the same amount of time, so that may be the measuring stick for the council.
Right.
Obviously, you'll do what you think is best, but that might be some type of guidance.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I thought at the last meeting that we had asked Chris to look at what it would cost or how it would work for us to join this Hopkinton and have them, have a municipal court.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
we actually didn't. I know it was suggested, but after the discussion, I clarified and said, we're not asking him to spend his time on that. And council didn't agree, and we didn't really motion to ask him to do anything like that, so I don't think we did. I definitely understand where that idea came from, and I think that we should try to work with Hopkinton on a lot of different things that we can. But I don't think that our ordinances should be, and their ordinances should be kind of combined into one, in one court, because that was kind of the whole purpose of, our own individual court.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm the one who, suggested, floated that idea of using, Hopkinton's municipal court. You've already got it in place, which kind of concerns me a little bit about us doing it on our own. On the June 5th, 2018 meeting, the council unanimously, tabled and filed the idea of a municipal court. And, there's a very in-depth, review that, then solicitor Karen Ellsworth did, and I've got it right here. Just did a little bit of digging, a little bit of research myself, and the end result, her recommendation was not to pursue a municipal court. And, you know, when you look at the in-depth study that she did, and she looked at Hopkinton, and she looked at Charlestown, and she looked at their revenue stream and what the courts were taking in with the expense of the courts. You know, there are a lot of great notes that, you know, I'm sure most of this council isn't aware of. But in addition, under new state law, a defendant charged with an offense that is punishable by imprisonment has a right to be represented by a lawyer. If the defendant cannot afford a lawyer, the town must appoint a lawyer to represent him, and the town must pay for the lawyer. So now that could be somebody driving through town that doesn't even live in the state of Rhode Island, that if there's a problem and they can't afford an attorney, the town of Richmond is going to have to pay for the attorney to represent this person. And if it's something that goes on for a little bit, we could end up, lawyers aren't cheap. And I'm sure Mr. Zangari, they're worth their weight in gold a lot of times. They're not cheap. So when you look at what the possibility of this could cost Richmond, and the chief on our 1 hour 44 minutes, Chief Ellsworth said it boils down to money, and security is the greatest issue that concerns me. Now that means that when we hold a municipal court, my understanding to that is we're going to have an officer here during the time that the court is in session. And again, that price isn't plugged into Mr. Zangari's recommendation. It's just basically a bare bones kind of like skeleton, bullet point kind of thing that Mr. Zangari put together. We have this that Karen Ellsworth put together. She probably charged the town quite a bit because it took a lot of time to do this. There's a lot of great information in this. But my question humbly to ask Councilor Nassani and Councilor Trimmer, that you voted against this on the June 5th, 2018 meeting. Give me some insight as to why maybe you're changing your mind as to why the court is good for us in 2024 compared to 2018. If you can bring up some good points to maybe change my mind, about this, you know, I'd like to hear it, but not you folks being at a disadvantage. I did my homework, I pulled this up, I looked at the meeting and watched the discussion and whatnot. I would think that it would be great.
So you asked a question of the both represent. So I'll answer the question. We have discussed this exhaustively. And we decided to go ahead with it 2 meetings ago. We had, Mr. Zingari look into it. I called around to other towns and spoke to the town council presidents, of 3 other towns that have municipal courts, and they all are very happy with the results, and none of them cost the town.
Well, again, Mr. President.
Point of order. You have to ask for permission before you speak.
I did, I said, Mr.
No,
President.
but I didn't acknowledge because I was still talking. That's what I warned about earlier. So I just wanted to finish that. I called around to different towns. I was on the council when Karen did that study. We had Mr. Zingari do another study. I called around to different towns that have this, and we've already discussed this exhaustively, where it's not going to be revenue negative. It's not even, maybe the first year it might be revenue neutral, but in the long run, it's gonna allow us to enforce our zoning laws and reap the revenue of our police force issuing traffic citations that we currently give a good portion of to the state. So I really, really don't wanna rediscuss this again. But that being said, yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer a little clarity, on the meeting in 2018. I watched it as well. The proposal in 2018 was for municipal court for police matters only, not for zoning. So when I brought this back to the table, it was with the idea of just doing zoning. I wasn't thinking about police. That was an idea that President Shermer brought back in. So for the public's sake, since we are just going over some history, I wanted to make sure that that was said because I think it's important. And, you know, we've all done our homework. We saw Hopkinton that they're revenue neutral or pretty close to it. I just think that we should move on and figure out what should be put there, or if we should, for the compensation of the judge, leave it open, or what we should really put there, because, I don't know how often the police side is gonna wanna meet. I know that, the former town planner had mentioned that the municipal court for the zoning would maybe meet every other month, maybe monthly, so it would meet less. So I think we should just kind of focus on that task at hand.
I'd rather leave it open as well because we don't know what it's gonna be yet. This was all initially proposed as a 1-year trial. And at the end of 1 year, if it was a problem, then we would stop.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd like to add one more piece, and that is, since the last meeting, I've been thinking about this whole business of zoning violations, and to me, I'm in favor of smaller government, not more government, and I have this fear that the neighbors are gonna start tattling on their neighbors for one thing or another. It's like a way to get tit for tat. So adding one more layer of government here, I don't know that that's going to work in our favor.
It's actually shrinking government because we're doing it here instead of farming it out to the state. And with the state, it gets delayed. At least that's my understanding.
Mr. President.
Yes.
The whole premise of Sean Lacey bringing this forward, is because we have a lot of zoning violators. People who do wrong things, put businesses on properties that aren't allowed, dump product onto other people's property, leave equipment where it's not supposed to be. And those individuals get away with it because we don't have a municipal court. And that gets dragged on, and then the people who suffer are not the violators, but the people who actually have to live next to them. And that's an issue, because when you hold people accountable for what they're doing wrong, they tend to step up and clean up their mess. And that is the real reason why we need a municipal court in this town. The police, secondary. It takes money, instead of sending it up north to Providence, keeps it here in our town. We started with this whole process as a trial. Nothing more. And for anybody to think that this is big government, no, this is small town taking care of small town. And us taking care of the constituents who we're supposed to be representing, who are coming to us complaining, coming to the town administrator, coming to the town clerk, complaining that this person has a business that they're running in a residential area they're not supposed to be. The zoning officer runs down there, yep, you're not supposed to be doing it. We send them a letter, cease and desist, they ignore it, they turn around, and then it goes to the solicitor brings them to court. Then it sits there and it goes, and you're paying the solicitor thousands of dollars, thousands, to go over and over and over. And the violator doesn't do a damn thing, because they know that they can just keep getting away with it. And guess what? This puts an end to that. There's a lot of people who have a lot of problems and they don't get solved because people want to kick the can down the road. They don't want to just step up and do what's right. This is what is right. And this has to happen. Thank you.
Mr. President?
I just wanted to ask Talia to step up because she raised her hand a while ago.
Sure, Monica Light, Town Planner. Councilor Nacini, you pretty much hit it right on the head. I will say that there are presently a fair number of violations that we have before us in the Building Planning and Zoning Department that have not been addressed because we will send them letters and they'll say, oh, what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen, so they don't change their behavior. We have a situation, I'm just going to speak in very vague terms, where there's a party who is encroaching upon open space in relation to where their development is, and we have sent them multiple letters and contacted them on multiple occasions to remove their materials from the open space, which is shared in common by all people who live in that development. And it's been going on for months and they have not yet rectified that problem. So having a mechanism to enforce our ordinances, I think, is a very powerful and useful tool.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
I kind of beg to differ with Councilor Wilcox, because in the June 5th meeting, in the second page of Karen Ellsworth's discussion, the potential revenue from other types of offenses. So he did speak to other offenses besides traffic. It says right here, municipal courts have jurisdiction over violations of property maintenance regulations, formerly the state housing maintenance statute. And violations of town ordinances include zoning, animal control, and parking. However, for the reasons discussed below, Richmond is unlikely to collect substantial revenue by prosecuting them in municipal court. So I beg to differ with Ms. Wilcox, but she did address the issue of zoning violations, and she just plainly just said in her words, collecting substantial revenue by prosecuting them in municipal court is unlikely.
President? Mr. President?
Sure.
I agree. We will not collect substantial revenue. We are public servants, and this is a public service. And it's not about collecting substantial revenue. It's about serving our constituency. When I canvassed door to door and people would complain about the issues that Mr. Lett just mentioned, and I said, I explained exactly what Rich already went over. I'm not going to go over it again. It's not about making revenue. It's about serving our residents. It's about serving our community. And we're not going to lose money. It's going to be revenue neutral. So to me, public service isn't about making money. It's about serving the public. With that, if we have no new information or new opportunity for debate, I'd love to hear from the public. I know a couple meetings ago, we had somebody speak in public forum about it, but I don't know if anybody else here is tonight for that. So that's all I got.
So,
Mr. President, I have one more question.
sure.
I wonder from Chris, is there no legal option now? People who are violating zoning laws, nothing we can do about it, but send them a letter?
No, there's absolutely options, Counselor. The options are basically what Ms. Gillette outlined, would follow the process of notice of violation, telling the person may violate the ordinance. They have a certain amount of days to abate that violation. If they do, fantastic. Mission accomplished, great for everybody. If they don't, what's the process? Process right now would be you either file a complaint in the district court, 4th Division in Wakefield, and you can seek monetary fines through that court. If you want to prevent them from getting equitable relief, get the court to order them, stop what you're doing. You have to go to the Superior Court in Washington County on Post Road. That is a long process, and it might be. So it would be, those are your two forms to address those concerns. So yeah, there's a mechanism, absolutely. It's the state court system.
Is it onerous?
There's a filing fee, it's $185. You then have to, so the town pays that. You have to serve the defendant. Constable fee is $55 by statute now. There's one defendant, it's 55, it's two, it's 110. So there's some out-of-pocket costs, not a lot. There's the solicitor's time to draft the complaint. Then there's an answer period where the defendant can answer on their own or hire an attorney. Get into discovery, more time. And then there's motion practice. Then eventually, if you can't resolve it, there's a hearing in front of a judge. And there's a determination made of whether they're in violation, if there's going to be a fine, if there's going to be an order for injunctive relief issued. In other words, stop doing what you're doing, but do something that you're supposed to be doing. That's the process. So it's the state legal court system. That's the avenue we have right now. So absolutely, there's a way to do it. That's the way you would do it today.
Mr. President, one last comment. See, again, we're moving forward with this, and there are comments being made that this is what they read or saw at a meeting, and I just read something completely different. That she did say that there were, besides traffic violations, there were also going to be zoning, animal control. So, again, we're moving forward so fast with this, we're not really looking into it, because you got a great report right here. And Ms. Ellsworth also said at that meeting, and I pretty much quote her, she said, no town is really making money if they show it, they're fudging their numbers. That's exactly what she said. And what I got an issue with this is, you have somebody from New York that comes down, they have a Mercedes that they park in their driveway, and you've got somebody that's been living in town for 35 years. We know that a lot of people cut firewood in this town. You see it piled up. It's in non-commercial areas, non-business areas. So that person driving in the $125,000 Mercedes can also now make a potential problem to this person that's been living in town for 35 years, making a few bucks, splitting a little bit of firewood and selling it. Now, all of a sudden, all right, there's a potential now that that person knows that there's a quick avenue, all right, to get this person in trouble and to get a cease and desist about this guy who's been doing it for 35 years, cutting firewood. That's the problem we have in a very rural town, that you've got people that could make problems for people that have been living here for years, and it's been a way of life for them.
I will try to make this be the last thing that I say, but that sounds awfully familiar to the case that Councilor Colasanti has pending against himself.
There is no case pending with me.
Okay.
So
Oh, my mistake.
You're
my
mistaken. Again, your
Point of
mistake.
order.
Again,
At this point,
Mr. President, I'm gonna make one last comment if I may.
yes,
None of this has to do with money. Not one iota of money. This all has to do with holding people responsible. And it doesn't matter if you're splitting wood or rock. It doesn't matter. Hold people responsible. Has nothing to do with the guy from New York. Has to do with the people who live in this town, whether you live in here for a year, 6 months, 40 years. If you're breaking our ordinances, you need to be held accountable. period. End of story. It doesn't matter whether the town makes a penny or $1 million off of it. You're breaking a law that we have set in place. And I don't care who you are, whether you sit on this dais or you're sitting in the chair over there. Either if you're breaking a law, guess what? Chief is gonna come after you. You start speeding in your Prius around again, he's gonna come after you. The point is, it's all about keeping our people under the guise of our laws and our rules and our ordinances. It's as simple as that. Has nothing to do with money.
So before I invite Talia to step up one more time if she'd like to.
To have the option of bringing somebody here and bringing it before the council, a municipal court. I do, I think it would be a great deterrent, I really do. If it works, fine, if not, no harm done, just move on.
We can always debate it to death again another time and vote against it.
That's it.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone online? That being said, I make the motion that we close public hearing. Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, and there's someone,
President, I'll make a motion to, let's see, how do we do that? I'll make a motion to approve, is that how I say it, Chris? Approve the code of ordinances, addition, chapter 19, with ordinance that establishes a municipal court.
Second for discussion.
I'd like to amend it to say a year.
I think we also need to add, there was that blank where the dollar amount was.
Right.
And I'm wondering if we should just say at the discretion of the council, because I put in a dollar amount, 10 years from now, that dollar amount might be
Right.
not appropriate, and we would have to come back and amend that ordinance.
Right.
I think it's probably gonna depend on what judge we get, what they want to charge us when it comes right down to
yeah,
it.
so we could be like that.
Okay.
Annual salary at the discretion of the town council on an annual basis. The ability to lower it or raise it as you see.
Any
So,
further discussion?
Get that?
So we said we're going to do a 1-year trial, so how about that be in the motion?
Stipend is a good definition.
It was not.
Somebody has a different connotation. Stipend would be fine, annual stipend.
Yeah, annual stipend would be fine.
Very good.
Just-
And then-
So approval at the discretion of the council and an annual stipend.
To be approved by the council, at the council's sole and absolute discretion.
That's what I said.
That's what I seconded.
And did the 1-year piece get in there?
I would like further discussion on that. That's the biggest.
We're doing a 1-year
Um,
trial.
If we don't like it after 1 year, all we have to do is remove the ordinance. We don't have to put that in our ordinance that it expires at a certain day. So we could, whatever councils here can have the discussion and see how it's going and allow, evaluate. Sorry, I was trying to spit out.
We said, initially we said we'd do a trial. I would rather we do it for a trial and evaluate it after a year.
I don't want to put a sunset clause on it just because it just burdens the other next council of having to go through the entire discussion. And this has been burdensome.
Okay, so there's no trial, it's just permanent.
Well, it's not,
Nothing is permanent. No ordinance is permanent. It can be removed at any point in time. So since we're putting in a sunset clause on it,
if
if
the
you
next
have
council
someone start-
majority
not even like that,
changes, then. So,
there's a motion.
motion and a second. How do you vote?
Just to clarify the motion.
Yep.
That does not include the 1-year trial.
No.
Okay, thank you.
How do you vote?
No,
Nay,
Yay.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm not totally against the idea, but it's a whole balance piece.
Balance.
Yes. The government between the people and the people in the government.
Put in place that you don't have a problem.
Let's move on to the consent agenda.
Chief President, of the remove item 1A. Motion to approve 1B, 2 and 3.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Moving to approve consent agenda item 1A. Cause you pulled it a little bit.
Oh, okay, I didn't understand. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, and do I have a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Okay, next, we have the public forum, and I invite anybody to step up and speak for 3 minutes on anything that's not already on the agenda. Anyone? Anyone online?
No, we're having online difficulties, so I don't believe we will have anybody online.
Okay, that being said, move on to reports, and I invite Karen D. Pinch.
So we've already discussed the first item about the dental benefits. The second item I have is a request to award a bid to a company called NSI Clean Worldwide Inc. for replacement of the carpet in the town hall. It came in much lower than I had been given a estimate, which made me a little nervous. They're out of New York. Wondered why someone from New York would want to bid on this, but I spoke to all their references. They sent me carpet samples, which actually look better than the next higher bidder. And everything seems to be on the up and up. So since they were so low, I did ask, because the original bid had said we would ask DPW to move the furniture. And as you all know, DPW is way overextended. So I asked him, how much more would it be for you guys to move the furniture? And they said another 4,000. So my request is, it includes that extra 4,000. So the total would be 30,582.
President?
Yeah.
Move to approve the bid to NSI Clean Worldwide for $30,582.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Does this require us to give them a deposit?
No.
Okay, so if we're not satisfied with the work, we want that. Okay, good. All right.
So that being said, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Right. Next.
Oh, Laura has one more thing on dental.
On dental, we did not get the approval of the 20% co-share. So we, with the new dental plan.
Yeah.
It is, asking all municipal employees to do a 20% co-share, which is the same as the police. It had nothing to do with money. It has to do with the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, motion,
Please.
motion to approve 100% co-share for the dental employee municipal.
Second.
Any discussion? None being had, how do you vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
one more thing, Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, certainly.
Last, but most certainly not least, I want to thank Laura. This is her last official meeting.
Oh, wow.
Laura has been an amazing addition to our team.
You're gonna make me cry.
I'm sorry. Don't make me cry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, Laura she was amazing. She came in hit the ground running. She had all the experience. She'd been in Hopkinton. She understood the regional school system. I mean, there wasn't anything that she wouldn't do or help me with, and she's been amazing. So I'm gonna miss you a lot. Big shoes to fill. I know Danielle's gonna do a great job. Welcome to your first meeting officially. And
I'll miss you checking my water meter.
Right?
Yeah.
Driving in your driveway.
Let's say nothing else before she really goes.
Yeah.
Already cried.
Karen, no cake
that's coming.
tonight?
No.
I didn't eat what else on the table.
Okay, next up is Elwood M. Johnson Jr.
So if I may, did we skip or did I just miss it? The pole placement request under,
Yes, I think we did.
It was in consent. It's all approved in consent.
oh, good. Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes,
Chief, would you like a motion to have a detail at that pole placement?
Oh, that's okay.
They can make that. I mean,
Yeah,
Ronnie always
If it's
made
in the
the,
roadway, then they'll reach out to us. That's entirely up to council.
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes,
motion to, have a detail at the pole placement request for, the D1 Tuck Hollow Road to be relocated northeast of its existing location.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 That was Ronnie's thing. He always had to, always said, so I gotta continue.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be really brief tonight. I just wanted to make people aware that we are part of the grant covered by the Rhode Island DOT through NHTSA. And it's highway safety. And there is, if you don't make efforts in your locality or statewide to reduce fatalities on the road, you lose some grant funding potential in highway improvement fund. So aside from the fact that we're trying to prevent people from dying in their vehicles while they're on our roads, there's additional motivation to be part of this collective effort. And May, next week, is going to be clicking a ticket. Most people are familiar with that. I don't care if you wear suspenders in your vehicle, please wear a belt too, a seat belt. Having been to fatal crashes, having been to crashes involving serious injuries, they're preventable. Injuries are less severe when somebody has a seatbelt on, and I'm really asking, it's traumatizing for the police and EMS that are there trying to provide people. We just don't want to see deaths in our roads, and they do happen. We're fortunate. The last time we had a fatal crash, it was right out here behind us. Just passed away in a collision. So, sometimes seatbelts may not be effective in preventing a death like that, but they really do. NHTSA told us the national average for wearing a seatbelt is 92% compliance. We in Rhode Island are about 89%. We're trying to get to 90. Out of all the fatalities and highway deaths, 65% of people killed are not with a seatbelt. So have a high compliance rate, but when the crashes happen, if you don't have the belt on, your chances of suffering serious injuries are pretty high. And with that, I just have to say, Lori's been an absolute professional. You really have.
Thank you, Chief.
You're a class act as an individual. I'm gonna miss you. Welcome with you now.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Next is Richmond Rural Preservation Land Trust Report with Susan Payton. Susan?
Yep.
Come on up.
Sure. So I believe you have in your packet, a description of sort of what's been happening over the last 4 years. I can run through it really quickly if that's helpful.
It would be.
Okay, so yeah, so back in 2020, we came before the town council to apply for a permission, basically to request permission to move forward with a design for a small parking area for 2 vehicles. And a little boardwalk to access our Sailor Preserve, which is also off of Chelsea Farm Drive. And the council approved, and so we moved forward. We had put it out to bid, and we had, I believe I have it all here. We had 6 different engineering firms that bid on it. We had it open for a 30-day period, and then we had a group of folks that reviewed the bids and selected a bid. And we then got permission from the council to move forward with phase A of that contract, which was the initial conceptual design plans. And then once phase A was completed, we came back in front of the council to approve, to get approval to move forward to phase B, which was to finalize those design plans and to go in front of Rhode Island DEM to get a wetlands permit, to look at stormwater runoff at that site and to design something that, was compliant with wetland laws and that sort of thing. We received our wetland permit, and have almost completed phase B. So now I'm back in front of you to request permission to move on to the final phase, phase C of that original bid. The reason that it has been 4 years is because during that time we applied for a recreational trail grant from Rhode Island DEM, and we were successfully awarded $79,000 that will come to the town to pay for the parking lot and the new trail so that we can open. It's a 120-acre parcel that's owned by the land trust. We want to open it to the public. We want to make it accessible and open. And we've already had Eagle Scouts help us to build a kiosk and to design a trail network. We have the Youth Conservation League coming in to help us remove some invasive plants, and those will count, that's gonna count as match to the grant. But the design funding we have spent on the design is also to be used for match. But when we were awarded the grant, it turned out 2 years before they actually gave us the permission to proceed. And we found out that we couldn't count anything towards match unless it happened during the period of performance. And it took the state almost 2 years to award the contracts with us. So we told the design company to wait to do any further design until we got our notice to proceed, so that anything we spent on the design for the parking area would count as match, since we're required to provide 20% match on that $79,000, which is $19,000. And like I said, part of that will be in kind, but part of it can be this, the next phase, this $11,475 for the photo phase. That will include, they are gonna pull together the bid documents, bid drawings that will go out, hopefully soon, go out to bid, and then we'll be able to select a construction firm. And then Horsley Witten will do some construction oversight just to make sure that everything's in compliance with the drawings. And also we've asked them to create some rendered drawings that we can use to do public outreach, because we want to make sure that we reach out to the folks that live in that area so that they know what to expect. And we wanted to be able to put a sign at the end of the road that says, you know, coming soon, this is what it's going to look like, and make sure that folks are informed of everything we're doing.
Great.
So, so that was an added charge for phase C.
Excellent.
Mr. President,
Yes,
motion to approve the request.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I also want to say how much I appreciate Laura. Laura spends hours and not hours talking to me on the phone about all of the different land trust accounts and how it all works. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So next we have appointments and resignations. Item number 1 is a discussion and consideration of Kelly Lynn Ward Miller.
Mr. President.
She
maybe-
here, is this the one that needed to skip?
Mr. President, who was supposed to address you.
Yes,
Okay, Mr. President, I move this appointment of Kelly Lynn Ward to the next council meeting.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is discussion and consideration of Alice Bolognese request for renewal to the Senior Activities Commission with a term expiring May 31st, 2027.
Mr. President,
Yes,
motion to approve.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, discussion of Curly Way resignation from the Recreation Committee.
Mr. President, move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. President?
Yeah.
With regrets.
Yes, with regrets. Last
Vote.
on this page.
Point of order, vote.
You gotta vote.
Oh, I voted yes.
No.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, next is a discussion and consideration of Daniel Ashworth resignation from the planning board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
New business. Discussion and authorization of the memorandum of understanding between Charahoe Regional School District and the town of Richmond regarding the school resource officer, who can bring some detail to that.
The same one that we do every year.
Yeah.
It's basically a renewal, and to my knowledge, the only thing that's changed are the dates
Okay,
on this particular contract.
all right, excellent.
Mr. President, make a motion to authorize the renewal of the resource officer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up, discussion and consideration of a request Councilor Wilcox to create a long-term capital improvement strategy. I think that's a good idea. Would you like to?
Sure, yeah, so this came up during our budget discussion and during some other discussions about what was needed in town. And aren't being asked for, because we were presented with a wonderful budget where our town staff is working very leanly. And although it's gone up, we all know expenditures have gone up. We all know that there are some things that they just don't ask for because they know that we don't have the funds for it yet. So the purpose of this is to have a list that we can draw off of when there are funding opportunities, whether it be grants that are sent Karen's way, federally or state. And just so council can be aware as well, so we can work towards that as well. So there's really nothing for council to do. It's more council needs to request that town staff work on that. So that's all I got.
Okay, so you.
Sorry, Mr. President?
Yes.
We discussed this, I think, the last meeting. They already do that. You already have your 5-year capital improvement plan. And again, if there's anybody who has any questions, they could always call your office. You even gave the number, your direct line. All right, if anybody has any questions, Don or Danielle, it's going to be your direct line now, a hotline. If they have any questions about what the future capital improvements are, the requests of the department heads, you know, because that's already in place. Right, I read it.
Right.
You know,
I think that she's looking for council to be involved in it because we got currently formally involved in it.
Mr. President, I can offer more clarity because it seems
Yeah.
like it's being lost in
I can
translation last
also-
time, if you like, either way, but I'll just be quick. We've all seen the capital improvement plan. It's available on the town finance website. It goes on for 5 years. This goes beyond that. It goes more long-term, which is why I call it long-term, but it also goes to our boards and commissions and asks for things. For example, like we just heard about, things that may be looking for funding, because if there are grant opportunities, we'll all be in the loop. So it's a way to have really a longer term than 5 years. But I'll let Laura go more. Thank you.
So the thought here is to allow departments, boards and commissions the ability to think longer term and bring back, when we do the capital improvement plan for 5 years, items that they haven't been bringing to us because they thought they were a little more on the wish list side than the necessity side. And that we would then incorporate them into the capital improvement plan, but possibly maybe in year 5 or year 4. It just would not show in the current year or the next year's budget. But we don't know what's out there for requests unless they are brought to staff for us to evaluate. So it's more a matter of letting everyone know that we're trying to get more projects into the capital projects plan.
Right. I agree.
Danielle is looking.
So, Karen,
My initial reaction was the same as yours, Council Coulson, do it. Oh, we already do that. We already have that covered. Maybe she doesn't see it. But I understand now where she's going with it, where it's more of a, like Laura said, it's a wish list. It's things that we would never really dream of putting on the capital plan because they're really in some, you know, sometimes they're just really, I don't want to say far-fetched, but it's like, we would never have enough money to do that. Why would I even put that on the capital plan?
well, something that was brought to my attention when we were talking about economic development a while back was that if we wanted any real economic development, we would need sewage treatment in the town. And that is a long-term, it's not a 5-year thing. So I don't know.
And it could, right, it could go on as its own capital project with nothing more than possible.
Right, and it would give us enough time to reach out to our federal delegation, our state delegation, look for
Or if,
Army Corps of Engineers or whatever to.
right, if federal money came where we could get funding to do a design to find out how much, at least it's on a piece of paper so that we can go, oh, how about that? It's more one of those, how about we finally get that study done? Or we get it engineered, or, federal money is coming for infrastructure specifically for sewers. So that, yes, that it's just, we need to know it's there. We need a document that has it there.
Mr. President, I looked into that, the sewer's coming down 138. We're looking at probably about $50 million plus.
I didn't say it was feasible,
Yeah.
but if the
50
federal government is
$50
going to
million
give it to us,
plus
then
to
we
bring,
have to
to
think
bring
about it.
sewers down 138. It's a lot of economic development.
If we had had the development at the gravel pit, I forget what's that called, Richmond Commons, we would have needed a sewer system. So it's just,
They had a treatment plant designed as a part of that whole plan.
right,
They had to have their own because there weren't any town sewers.
right.
Yeah, that's what was discussed. When I asked them about this, sewer project coming down 138, they said now with the technology that if you were to get, say, like an Amazon distribution center, they would have their own septic design and they would have their own facility. And when they know that there are going to be other commercial projects in that same vicinity, what they would do is they would overbuild it. So that way these new businesses opening up would be able to utilize their facility and the town really would have no responsibility to the waste treatment facility whatsoever. That's what we want.
Okay, do you have a motion behind your agenda item?
Sure, I'll make a motion to ask our town staff and our boards and commissions to forward their items for a long-term capital improvement strategy.
Sorry.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Just to offer clarity, the reason I like the term wish list, but the reason I wanted to rebrand it was because sometimes some of these projects are far-fetched because they're expensive, not because they're not needed for our sustainable growth. But then I like the term wish list for our boards and commissions because in my experience on boards and commissions, I know that there's a lot of things that they don't ask for that they want and things that get kicked down the road. So it's kind of a hybrid between the two.
So, Mr. President, I do want to second that. The formal term looks nice on paper, but a lot of people don't really know what that means. But if you say, what's your wish list or your dream list? Ideas can populate. And when people talk, then you can have a lot of fertilization. You can come up with ideas that don't necessarily cost a lot of money, but can be really effective.
Right. Good. So we have a motion and a second. How do you vote?
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
It's already in place. Aye.
Aye.
The next item, discussion and consideration of a request of Councilor Wilcox to reconsider the special council meeting for tax payment agreements. Did you
Sure, so.
flush that out?
Yeah, last time we had talked about, scheduling this meeting, I was technically unemployed. I was in between jobs, so I didn't know, and I gave a solid maybe as to what time I could be here. But I will have the flexibility and availability to leave early to come to a meeting a little early, and I think it's important for the tax payment agreement, just because this meeting is very public and people are here at 6 p.m. and somebody going through that hard of a time may not want it to be that public. And by shifting it to 5:30, the public can still come, but it still will be on YouTube, but they're most likely not going to want to come to that agenda item. And it'll really just help the people who are in that situation have a little bit more privacy as much as you can in a public situation. So that was my only reasoning for that. So I would like to just see about council's agreement, I guess, to move it forward.
I'm all about not putting a person in an embarrassing situation. Did you want to make a motion on that?
Well, would 5:30 on that day work for everybody before I throw it into a motion?
What date is it?
The 21st.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
motion to schedule our special meeting for May 21st at 5:30.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah. I talked with the tax collector, and one of her ideas was that maybe we could put it in the consent agenda. Because we had arrangements set up with people, it's kind of more of a formality to come here. So if we put it in the consent agenda, that if she hasn't agreed with someone, then that they wouldn't have to be
Publicly
publicly,
discussed.
right,
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about saving people
right. I
the
agree with you.
embarrassment,
Yes.
because things are tough enough with the taxes and everything else. so.
Yes.
Does that? That'll work, or I mean, it's consent agenda, so if someone's in disagreement, you can bring it up, discuss it if you wish.
As long as the tax assessor is got all that wrapping in mind.
Right, she'd have to agree
That's
for
fine.
that.
Yeah, either
So
way.
if you want to modify your,
Either way is fine by me. I just was suggesting this because I didn't think like we were gonna be agreeing to something I haven't seen it in consent agenda. Might make, you know, you feel like a rubber stamp. So if you're amenable and agreeable to that, then, yeah, I am as well. So then I'll just withdraw my motion.
Well, you gotta make a motion, put it on.
Yeah, withdraw.
Mr. President, make a motion to put it on the consent agenda.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. And you've withdrawn all these,
I have, because they've all pretty much all been dealt with one way or the other.
Mr. President,
mm,
Mr. President,
yes.
I'm so sorry. I would like to talk about number 4 for just a moment. And reason being is that when I saw it on the agenda, I spent a good 3 hours going through all of them, reading the substitutes that were proposed. These were proposed, the substitutes that were proposed were all proposed in April, before it was even put on the agenda. So I don't know, I just wanted to, I guess, address some of them if you wanted to address some of them, but also just recognize the amount of work that went into that for a lot of people. That's all.
I agree. I spent a lot more than 3 hours going
Yeah.
through all of them. Yeah. You know, I'm still new to this business, so the timeline, I was a little off on the timeline. I thought when they were on the agenda for last month that we would be dealing with them last month, but we weren't.
Well, Counselor, now you know the next time.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And thank you for spending the 3 hours.
Motion to file communicating petition.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Mr. President, move to go into executive session pursuant to General Law 4246(5)(a)(2) regarding pending litigation, PD Richmond Beaver River LLC versus the town of Richmond zoning board for review.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The roll call first.
Okay,
Aye.
aye.
Yep.
Yes.
I go unlock. Is it unlocked already?
I have my keys.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we're okay. We are good. Thank you.
Session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. President, motion to close executive session minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Like to just announce that no vote was taken and no votes were taken at the executive session tonight. Now I'm looking for a motion to close.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So you're done.
Goodbye.